So, week 2 of the speech series by Where We Are One. My name is Dominique, and again, this is a platform where I hopefully am able to give the public an insight into language so that we can help bridge misunderstandings in communication, because that's what we all need, right? To be understood. So, I'm going to start today with the topic that I talked about in my last video, and that's phonetics. So, what is phonetics? What is a phoneme? It is the smallest unit of language. It's a sound, and it makes up a system. If for English, we use this system that's known as IPA. And basically, IPA stands for the International Phonetic Alphabet, and it's a word bank full of characters that we use to visually represent sounds that come from spelling in the English language. So there are different phonetic alphabet criterion for different languages, of course, but for English it's known as the IPA. So in IPA, we have this thing that's known as the phonetic chart, and you learn this while you're in school to become a speech-language pathologist, which I think everyone should really know because it shows you where the consonant is produced based off of its position of its articulator, the tongue, the movement of the tongue, as well as if your voice is on and off. So that deals with all of our consonants, but most words are consonant, vowel, or so on. So we need a vowel chart as well. And these I got from my classes, from my notes from my professors. So if we look at the vowel chart here, there are 3 distinctive features that differentiate A, E, I, O, U, but not even, there's more. So it goes on height, frontness, and tenseness, because not A, E, I, O, U does not fully cover the amount of sound-produced vowels in the English language. So when we learn about the different sounds in the English language, it's called phonemic awareness, and it's modeled by mapping. So this is usually naturally provided by the caregiver as a young child, infant child, and then goes into school. But the speed of their progression is really determined by the richness of this as a child and growing up into adolescence. So this is really important for caregivers to know, because the semantic connection between dada and CVCV and mama CVCV really helps set the foundation for kids in their language production, because that's the basic unit. So the awareness of the caregiver is also important, because if you are looking at your child and their peers and you see that your child may not be progressing as much, there is this thing called like a delay, but there could be signs that there's more work that you could be doing as far as modeling semantically charged interactions between your child to help differentiate ta, da, pa, ba, ka, ga, because they're placed almost the same, but with indirect communication, this makes it really hard for a kid to pick up on the difference. So if we don't pay attention, I'm going to take a break for some water. So when we pick up on this difference in children as far as their speech production, they usually have 4 different diagnoses or etiologies, causes to this difference. They could have a structural abnormality, which means that there is a difference in their oral facial musculature or skeleton bone structure that makes it harder for them to produce the same sounds. So it doesn't necessarily make it impossible, but this is why speech-language pathologists work very diligently to help close that bridge and learn different methods and stuff. So neurological differences is another etiology that someone that gets diagnosed with an articulation disorder might have, and that's verbal apraxia. It's a neurological disorder. Verbal apraxia makes the connection between knowing what you want to say and actually getting it out really hard. Those motor neurons are not being fired correctly or getting to the right articulator in the right timing and manner that it inhibits them from being able to produce speech. They need speech language pathology to help strengthen those connections, and also important interactions from caregivers. The other two etiologies for a speech disorder would be a hearing loss. So their perception of language is altered, so it makes their reception altered, so their production is not equivalent of English, but with the help of hearing devices and alternative modes of communication, these individuals are able to surpass this hearing loss, unfortunately. But there's also cognitive disabilities that make it harder for some individuals to pick up on the rules of language or the placement of how we produce certain words. So all in all, these kids are going to end up in schools, and it's really important that our staff in the education system are well aware of phonemic awareness. So in what ways can educators help? They can really fill their curriculum with phonological awareness and the interpersonal relationships that happen while we acquire language. So providing them books with rhyme that play with language and phonation, encourage peer relationships, playing off of language and looking at how other people produce, because we're sponges, kids are sponges. So if they see someone else able to do something that they cannot, they're gonna try to imitate and pick up on what it is that that person's doing. We could also manage their frustration. So of course, if a child's seeing that they're not able to do something that their friend is, it's going to cause them a lot of, I would feel, anger, frustration, and just feelings of sadness. So we have to teach them how to manage these emotions so that they know that a mistake happens and we can learn. And we also should really be teaching alliteration. So there's a lot of things that go into that. Co-articulation, I'll give an example. So Teddy takes Tuesdays to relax. That consecutive TTT filled with different consonant, vowel, really creates a strong connection between T and blending it into other sounds. So when we really support our kids with phonemic awareness, we could see their success in their decoding abilities to take language and understand its meaning. We see spelling proficiencies, we see vocabulary development as this semantic connection between caregiver and educator providing this language. They want to acquire it, they want to expand their language. We'll see reading comprehension, we'll see literacy success as we see a wave of students come in not being able to differentiate minimal pairs, the ta, da, ka, ga, pa, ba, because of this lack of connection and semantic pairing behind providing information and receiving it. So, that was a lot. Join me next week, and I hopefully will be talking about a certain interest group for phonetics and phonemes. Area of research, maybe, I haven't quite decided, but stick with me, and I hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy the weather. It's beautiful out there.